Aloha, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German or Turk or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American. Welcome back to A Nation of Immigrants, a bi-weekly talk show program featuring the lives of immigrants, knowledge, diversity, and inclusion. Created by ThinkTech Hawaii and Kingsfield Law Office. We invite renowned immigrants and the descendants of immigrants to discuss their life stories, immigration adventures, and contributions to cultural diversity. Today's guest is Miss Ying Cao, Chinese American attorney. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's my honor to be invited and share my experience.
Yeah, I have been in your WeChat discussion group for a long time. I always wanted to invite you to be on the show, and I'm very glad that we worked this out. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read your short bio to our audience.
Sure.
Ying Cao is a managing partner of Ying Cao Law LLC in the Metro New York area. Ms. Cao is licensed to practice law in New York and New Jersey since 2007 and 2006, and also admitted into Southern District of New York, Eastern District of New York, and the District Court of New Jersey. Her main practice areas including employment-based immigration, contract dispute resolutions, litigation, and matrimonial matters in New York and New Jersey. Co-founders of Chinese American Legal Defense Alliance and the Chinese WeChat, US WeChat User Alliance. She is also founder of Chinese American Lawyers Forum, and which is an unincorporated professional association formed for the purpose of career development and professional networking among Chinese immigrant lawyers practicing law in the United States. The forum currently runs several WeChat groups with a total of more than 600 Chinese immigrant lawyers practicing law in 34 states in the United States, and more than 80 lawyers who have returned to China after being admitted in any U.S. state and territory. In this episode, we invite Ms. Cao to share her personal and career stories. Welcome again, Ying.
Thank you.
Well, from your bio, there are a few highlights. We will return back shortly, but let's start with the obvious question. And you are first generation Chinese American, just like me, and obviously you were born and grew up and educated in China from your CV. And could you tell us a little bit more about your childhood and education in China?
Sure. I was born and grew up in Beijing. That's my hometown.
Well, which district? Sorry for interrupting. Dongcheng. I grew up in Haidian.
Oh, okay. It's more intellectual. In more intellectual district.
Well, you are more authentic. You are more authentic Beijinger, obviously, because Haidian, most of Haidian residents were you call it migrants. They're migrants from other provinces of China.
Yeah. So I went to undergrad study of Beijing Foreign Studies University. I majored in English.
Yep.
I came to the States in 1996 as a master's student. I got my Master of Science degree from University of Michigan in 1999. I worked at AT&T initially as a human factor engineer. Then I went back to Rutgers Law School in Newark, New Jersey in 2003 and graduated in 2006.
Well, we have quite a similar, personal story and a career path. I was born in Beijing, and I went to college and graduate school in Beijing, then came to the United States, also get 2 degrees in the United States. And the law degree was my second degree, just like you. But I'm just curious, So, which high school you went to in
Uh,
Dongcheng?
Beijing number 2 middle school.
Pretty good. It's very very good. And so so sometime after the show, obviously, when I visit New York or you visit Minnesota, we should have a lunch or have a beer
Sure.
and talk about our Beijing experience. And
Yes.
there will be a question. Now I'm going to insert this question. When was your last time in Beijing?
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. You
I
still have
haven't been.
still have family and friends in Beijing?
Yeah, my parents and my sister's family, they are all
Hmm.
living in Beijing. I plan to go back later this year.
Oh, they are here with you.
No, they are in Beijing, my
They are
parents
in
and my
Beijing. Okay.
sister.
Yeah. So you haven't seen your parents for a while because of COVID,
Right.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you can reunite with your family pretty soon. I went to Beijing during the COVID twice and not
Oh,
recommend it. So, but
wow.
I'm going back again this summer. Uh, Beijing has changed a lot. 8 years, I think you'll be very surprised. I hope it's a pleasant surprise, but probably not. I see a lot of changes. Anyway,
Hmm.
and so you came to the United States. You went work, get 2 degrees. You work for AT&T, and so and you are a specialist of employment-based immigration. So may I inquire, and you go through the employment-based immigration process yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And so you
Yeah.
start with F1, obviously,
Yes.
then OPT, optical practitioner training,
Yeah.
and then you get the H-1B visa sponsored by AT&T,
Not AT&T. It's another small company.
another company, and then you got H-1B, then you got you filed the EB petition, employment-based
Yeah.
immigration petition. You
Yes.
get your green card, and after several years, you are qualified for naturalization. So
Yes.
when did you settle down in New York?
After I graduated from University of Michigan in 1999, I
Mm-hmm.
got a job with AT&T in Middletown, New Jersey. So I
Ah, yeah.
moved to the Metro New York area in 1999.
Mm-hmm. So you've basically been based in New York metro area since then.
Yes.
Uh, well, good for you. New York is the best city in the world. Uh, Now you are a managing partner of your law office, and you'll have a pretty successful career in employment-based immigration law and the contract and disputes and litigation. Could you summarize? Uh, you have a long career, uh, uh, more than 20 years, and could you summarize the major steps you have been taken to uh, become a immigration lawyer?
Yeah. Um, I first started working as a human factor engineer at AT&T for 3 years. I joined AT&T because I majored in human computer interaction. That was a very new and novel field back then in 1999. However, nowadays it's more popular, and
Mhm.
user-centered design is a more acceptable principle in
Mm.
software development cycle, but not so back then. When I started working at AT&T, I specialized in designing user interfaces, and I interacted with the software developers very often.
Mm.
Whenever I presented a design to them, they only say, oh, technically it's impossible to implement, and then they shut me down. So I was frustrated. I thought that I have no control. And they thought that technology should be the center at that time. So I thought that I should change. I should change to do something that I have leverage and control. I could become a computer developer. However, I didn't study math ever since I, you know, uh, studied at undergraduate. So more than, quite a few years, I didn't study math, so I figured that I wouldn't go far if I chose to major in computer science. So law is a pretty natural choice for me because back then I thought that people will listen to lawyers. So that's why I went back to law school and got my law degree in 3 years. I started my legal career with an international law firm in New York, Sullivan and Cromwell. I mainly focus on doing capital market transactions. So after another 3 years, I lateraled to a mid-sized law firm, Prior Cashman in New York. Because they had a China practice, I was able to work on IPOs by those companies with operations in China. And then after another 3 years, I went to work for Goodwin Procter's Hong Kong office for a year. I thought that I should have a future, in another word, making partner in a big law firm's Asia office, but it didn't work out. Mainly because my children, who were already teenagers back then, refused to come with me to Hong Kong, so I had to come back to the U.S. And then I went solo in 2014. So why did I choose immigration law? Because I think every first generation students, everyone like me who are originally from China, their first priority is to solve the problem with their status, how to get a work visa and how to stay here permanently. So it will be easier for me to land clients. Being a solo practitioner, my former clients wouldn't come with me if they have a need for IPO or a merger or acquisitions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you made the right choice, and your children, by serendipity, help you to make the right choice. The immigration law, when we went to law school, 20 years ago, immigration law was not a large practice area.
Yes.
But in the recent years, become more and more important. And I can honestly predict in the coming years, many legal practice areas could be replaced or hugely impacted by AI or Chat GPT, applications. But the immigration law will be the least impacted area in the coming years. And it will need more and more specialists and domain expertise to exceed. And because you have been in this area for a long time, and I commend you, I think you absolutely make the right choice. Because the reason I say that is because I think the law, there's a huge human factor in law, which has been frequently ignored. And when we talk about the law, it appears just to be black letter law, just to be template, memorandum. It's not that. Law parties need a lot of human interaction and human empathy. And I absolutely think you'll make the right choice. Now let's jump to the next question, and which I wanted to ask you for a while. That's the WeChat group we are in. You're organized. So for the audience who are not familiar with WeChat, WeChat is a primary communication tool for Chinese people worldwide. And it's a mega app. It's basically integrated all the functions of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything into one, even with payment options and file transfer, everything. And Ying, you organized several WeChat groups with hundreds of lawyers in the WeChat group. and I think I'm only in one of them. Is so-called senior Chinese American attorneys, because I'm old enough to be not be considered a junior or emerging lawyer. And there's another group we call the emerging lawyer or something like that. And what
Yes.
else? What other groups?
Law school students.
Oh, there's a law school students
Yeah, law
group.
school students WeChat group and the returning Chinese American lawyers group. Those
Wow,
are for Chinese American lawyers returning back to mainland China or Hong Kong.
pretty cool. And you are doing great work for these Chinese, because we don't know each other. Basically, it's very hard to get the. So you, how many Chinese students in your law school class when you went to law school in Rutgers?
About 150. The
Really?
graduating class. Yeah, it's about
No. I mean
150.
law student, Chinese law student.
Oh, 102. Very
Yeah,
few.
that's
Yeah, 102. Yeah.
I was the only one in my JD
Yeah.
class. So
Yeah.
you and I are very share the very similar experience. When we
Yeah.
went to law school 20 years ago, there was like 1 or 2 students every class.
Yes.
And now it's more than that. And
Yes.
there were a lot of competition. And the Chinese law students uh, have a very have a challenging time to
Yeah.
land a job in the United States. And
Yes.
it's so you organizing this group for these Chinese students to gather information, to help each other, and also mentored by the senior immigrant attorneys from China, from elsewhere. That is just absolutely great, and I appreciate that. And so those groups connect the Chinese American lawyers in the United States and also return to China. And so I found them very informative. So I check on the message sometime. I see that when people refer cases to each other and also ask questions. Sometimes they just share some personal thoughts, and I found it very informative and helpful. And what's next? What's your plan for these very large groups? So, are you going to build a professional association based on these groups, and or you basically take a Taoist approach, let the groups run its course? Well, what's your plan, if you can share?
I think the most important thing for us is to network, to be open, to share our ideas, experience, and our case. We all have cases that we cannot handle. We all have clients that we don't have a chemistry. So we should, refer cases to other people who are better to handle those cases. So sharing cases and also sharing our knowledge and experience. We don't know everything. And there are so many areas in the US, and also the laws are developing very fast. So I think being part of a group, we can share our thoughts and experience about the latest development. The other thing is that I hope that Chinese American lawyers can work together to do more things to help our Chinese American community in the US. Nowadays, US-China relations is in a very, sensitive and you can even say hostile situation. And the Chinese Americans are caught in the middle. There are many bills, like in Texas, and even in the federal level, there are bills proposing to ban Chinese citizens, meaning students, Chinese people on work visa or on B1B2 visa, to purchase and own real property in the US. That's discriminatory. We should be very on alert to those kind of proposals, those bills, and have our voice heard. And if those unconstitutional laws happen to pass, our organization, Chinese American Legal Defense Alliance, is gonna file complaints in federal courts. We American lawyers, we should have like a social responsibility to help our own community to have a better life in the US. We are as American as any other people here.
Splendid. Very well said. And you did work on several cases, like the WeChat Alliance legal defense. Could you just tell us a little bit about that case?
Yeah. That happened in August 2020 when former President Trump issued an executive order banning the use of WeChat app. And then our US WeChat Users Alliance is a 503 nonprofit organization formed in New Jersey. We filed a complaint in the Northern District of California as the lead plaintiff. The executive order was supposed to take place on September the 20th, but because of our lawsuit and Judge Biller in the district court in North California issued an injunction, prohibiting the implementation of that executive order. So we were able to use WeChat, and the government DOJ appealed, but they lost in Ninth Circuit. And in January 2021, after President Biden went to office, he eventually withdrew that executive order. We didn't stop there. We went on to sue the government for legal fees, and we were able to get compensated for $900,000 US dollars for our legal fee.
Well done. Good job. I congratulate you on the victory of the case. And that case was quite interesting because the WeChat is, as I said earlier, is a primary communication tool even in the United States and worldwide for Chinese people. And that case had a very large impact, and is distinguishable from the current TikTok case, though. But we should probably keep a close eye on the current development. This is banning Chinese students come to study, banning Chinese citizens owning property in the United States, and banning the China-based app in the United States. And we will see where this is going to go, how far they're going to push, and how the legal community, and particularly the Chinese American attorneys, going to react. And again, I thank you for your hard work on behalf of the community. We are approaching the end of our program, but we normally end our program with two generic questions. Number one, and if time travel permits, you can travel back 20 years or 30 years to your early 20s and meet a younger version Ying. What advice in terms of personal or career you would like to give to yourself?
Find something that is right fit for me. Do not be tempted by the glory or prestige of a law firm or a practice area. Find the one which is the right fit. When I started law school, I was in my 30s. I already had 2 children. Yeah, but I still accepted the offer from Sullivan and Cromwell. I worked, long hours. I didn't spend much time with my kids when they were young. So I should have started with a smaller law firm so that I could have more time for my children.
Very good advice. And the law is my second career as well. I started with art and later transferred into law and never regretted it. I think both you and I, we make the right choice to change something else to law, because law is exciting. It's just so mentally and emotionally challenging, but obviously we don't want to be physically exhausted. But your advice is very wise. I think that the young lawyers, young law students today should listen. And our second question is pretty casual. Just would love to have your recommendation on books, movies, or documentaries you enjoy and you would like to share with our audience.
Yes. The book I would like to share with everyone is The Purpose-Driven Life.
The Purpose-Driven Life. Okay.
Yes, it's written by Pastor Rick Warren. He is the founding pastor of Saddleback Church, one of the largest churches in the world in Southern California. It's one of the best-selling nonfiction books. It has been translated into 137 languages and sold more than 50 million copies in, so far. I have been greatly inspired by that book, and we should all think about what's the purpose of our life. Is it making money, or is it to make an impact?
What was the pastor's answer? Making an impact, I assume? The purpose of
He
life.
said, it's not about you.
Yes.
It's about whether you can live, a rewarding, a life that you feel achieved for God. Basically, live a life that pleases God. So I'm a Christian, and that's the book I want to recommend.
Thank you very much. Do you still read Chinese books?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. You went to Beijing Foreign Studies University. So English is already like your native tongue. So I think I went to an art school in Beijing, so I still read a lot of Chinese language books. I enjoy both the Chinese language books and English language books as well. And well, we are just a perfect timing, but I have so many other questions I want to ask you, and perhaps we can invite you back on the show. I really appreciate your time, Ying, and what a wonderful personal story. What a thought-provoking, career development, and what a good life advice you gave to our audience and gave to the younger generation. Thank you so much for your time, Ying.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. Wang.
We really appreciate that. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.